There is outrage in the Twitter sphere tonight. Capital One sending out a massive message to cardholders saying the company can come knocking at your doorstep anytime it wants to collect debts. But is it legal? We've got a fiery debate tonight with John Ulzheimer, credit expert for creditsesame.com, and legal analyst Kent Zimmerman, a contributor for the National Law Review. Kent, I will start with you. We should note here that Capital One's dialing it all back just a little bit today, saying, you know, maybe we'll come, maybe we won't come all the time. But are you outraged, Kent? What do you think of this?
This is completely outrageous. Capital One is managing at one foul swoop to both be boneheaded and they're being extremely short-sighted. They're being boneheaded because strong consumer brands, they don't bully their customers, and that's exactly what Capital One's doing. They're telling you they're going to show up on your doorstep, they're going to show up at your place of work. They say they're even going to change the caller ID to a fake name to trick their customers into answering. That's not what builds trust with customers.
John, you disagree. Why?
I disagree because the only people who are going to get visited by Capital One are people who are not paying their bills. And frankly, a lender should have some sort of recourse to collect debts that the consumer agreed to pay back when they signed a promissory note or a cardholder agreement or otherwise some form of contract with the lender to say, hey, I'll pay you back, and if you don't, you can come take back the asset that is securing this sort of debt. This is not a Cap One issue. Every lender, strong brand, weak brand, has a right to take back assets if they're lending money and the loan is collateralized with a car or a home or an RV or a boat. This is nothing new.
And, you know, it's the IRS comes to your front door, too, my friend. It's not just Capital One, right? Here's what I don't understand, Kent. Aren't there big-time rules about debt collectors? Is this legal under that, or does it even apply?
Let me tell you something. What they're doing may be legal, but they're losing sight of the fact that in the interest of trying to collect some money, which they may rightfully be owed, they may win the battle and lose the war. That's because they're going to get a whole lot of people saying, you know what, I'll get you off my back, I'll pay the bill, fine. But let me tell you something, I'm going to drop you right away. A lot of customers are completely outraged by this. I am on their behalf when I heard about this. This is not the way you treat customers. Capital One is schizophrenic. You look at their commercials on TV, they've got Jimmy Fallon, they've got Samuel L. Jackson, they've got Alec Baldwin, they're playing with young kids, they come across as warm and fuzzy on the one hand. On the other hand, they're tricking their customers into answering the telephone, they're berating them and bullying them. That's not how you run a strong company.
Do we know they're berating and bullying them, though, John? I mean, is that what's going on, or is a nice young man coming to your door and saying, look, we're going to repossess that car in the driveway? What's going on?
Well, if they're going to repossess your car, they're not going to knock on your door. They're just going to take the car and leave. Look,
this isn't funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny.
If this truly outrages you as a Capital One customer, then drop them and go somewhere else. But let me warn you,
that's exactly what's going to happen, and they're not.
The grass is not greener on the other side. Bank of America will do this. Capital One is going to do this. Wells Fargo will do it. HSBC, Citibank, Discover.
Bank of America does not show up at people's houses and their place of work and bully people. That's not what they do.
They don't repossess cars when you default on car loans.
No, I'm saying they don't show up unannounced at people's homes and business. That's the difference. Of course they have a right.
So let's get your answer to this, John.
This is exactly what Capital One has said. Capital One says, whoa, you guys are freaking out. We repossess stuff all the time if you don't make payments on collateralized loans. This is what they're talking about.
But here's the difference.
Every bank does this. This is not a Cap One issue.
Here's the difference. And here's what I don't understand and what I think is a questionable PR move. So they're going to knock on your door and talk to you face to face?
Exactly.
Why that step? And why not the normal steps? The telephone, the letters in the mail.
Why not? You defaulted on your obligation to the bank. They're not showing up to try to extort money out of you that you don't actually owe.
Nobody's getting beaten up here.
Let me give you a message. Pay your freaking bills on time, and you'll never see anybody from Capital One. Ever. I promise you.
I'll just tell you something. This leaves a very bad taste in customers' mouths. They may have a right to do it, but people are going to drop them quickly. And you heard it here first. As people start dropping them, they will correct this. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Netflix screwed up. They made a very big mistake. They lost reams and reams of customers, and they corrected themselves, and now their stock price is much better than it was before. You will see a correction from Capital One. Mark my words.
The only people who will dump Cap One are people that Cap One really didn't want in the first place because they've defaulted on obligations. That's not who the lender wants as a customer.
Let's leave it there, guys. Great conversation. Thanks for coming on tonight. Really appreciate both of your time. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
You bet.